Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. I have some very exciting news to report. It's just really surreal, and that I hardly believe it that it happened. Recently, I applied for a postdoctoral fellowship with the National Research Council, or NRC. This is a fellowship that's supposed to fund anywhere between 1 and 3 years of a proposed research project that you would do with a federal agency or a federal lab. And these labs can include NIST or the Air Force Research Lab or the Army Research Lab. Basically, a lot of partner organizations, around 20, participate in this program, and they choose pretty qualified PhD holders or more senior scientists, and they go and conduct research at these facilities. And I applied only a couple months ago, and I just got an email that I got it. I got it. I'm like, I don't know. I'm just kind of in disbelief. It's just like a lot of emotions kind of going through my head. One, I've been struggling so much about imposter syndrome and like having this inferiority complex in grad school, and just always comparing myself to different people, and like seeing, oh, this person's published this much, or this person's gone to this many conferences, and this person's doing this kind of research. And it's just overwhelming, and sometimes you just need to step back and just realize, you know what, you're following your own path. You're just doing your own thing, and you're not really like comparable to different people. You are making your own progress. I think that being able to win this award was, in a way, kind of some validation on my end, because it just made me feel like my ideas and my background, and just me in general as a candidate, was enough, and also highly qualified for this position. I'm really grateful for being able to have this opportunity. I am just so grateful for all the people that's really helped me to get to this point. So, to all of you who are watching, if you are someone that's been a part of my graduate journey and has helped me develop more as a researcher, and just being there for me even outside of lab, thank you. Thank you so much. In this video, I didn't really have a point to this video. Honestly, I just want to announce this to everyone. I want to also sort of go through the process of what exactly is the NRC, and what types of things you need to do to apply for it, what the scoring criteria is, because they actually do score the applications, and also how you could potentially get selected for a lab. So that's what I'm going to do, and before I continue, I hope you decide to drop a like for this video for the YouTube algorithm, if anyone's even searching for the NRC fellowship, but also subscribe to this channel for more material science and grad school content. Okay, so the NRC is basically an associateship program that was founded in 1954. It's been a very competitive fellowship, which is also internationally competitive, since other people from different countries can apply to this. But the objective of the NRC is to essentially provide opportunities for postdocs and senior scientists to come in and do research on different problems that they sort of choose, and also being able to contribute some of those efforts to the sponsoring laboratory, and also have a place in which they can potentially earn a permanent position as a staff member. So typically for this associateship program, there are 4 review cycles. So they come in February, in May, and August, and November. I applied for the February cycle, and that was about a 2-month process, where I got to apply and then submitted it on exactly February 1st, and then ended up hearing back from them about a month later. So that was actually relatively quick. And there are definitely many items that you need to submit. So just creating a profile, including your transcripts from undergrad and also grad school, employment history, awards, and then coming up with a few pieces of information related to your research. So your dissertation abstract, your previous and current research, and also listing all of your previous research accomplishments, such as your publications, presentations, and anything else that's here. Now, the most important portion of this fellowship is essentially the research proposal. So, this is the portion of the application that is given the most weight, and you're supposed to come up with an original proposal, ideally with a prospective research advisor at the facility that you're interested in, and you're supposed to come up with the idea very concisely, state the problem, what you plan on doing, so the methodology, and then what the expected results and significance of this research is. And of course, you need to select different references that can vouch for your research ability and your professional background and everything. Generally around 3 at minimum, and then around 5 at maximum. So, to get started, you would sort of want to identify what exactly would be the research topic or project area that you're looking for. So here you can type in a number of keywords that kind of suit your interest, and it'll show a list of programs that would be relevant to what your research is. So in my case, I'd be looking at liquid metals. So going and looking at these programs, one pops up, which is Novel Materials for Agile and Flexible Electronics at the Wright-Patterson Air Force Base in Ohio. So here it gives you a requisition number, the main advisor for this project, a short description of the project, and general information about the appointment. So the base stipend, what your travel allotment is for the position, and also any supplemental income depending on what type of discipline you're coming in with. So my research proposal for this program is something that I came up with that essentially combined some of the ideas I had for my master's and also for my PhD work. And essentially, I'll be studying liquid metals still and framing this research around the optical properties of liquid metals. So here, without going into too much detail about what the proposal is, since this is something that is still relatively new, the title for this is Optically Responsive Nanoscale Coatings on Liquid Metal Particles for Soft Electronics and Sensors. I know, it's kind of a mouthful. So when I received my scores for the application, I was taken to this page here, and when I click on the scores and comments, I get to see what the general breakdown of how each portion of my application was scored, and also some of the reviewer comments. So I'm going to go through this a little bit just to kind of show you how this works. Currently, my status is I have an award offered, which, yay. But they have certain categories here that were broken down and weighted from a score of 1 to 5, so 5 being the highest. And each score is then multiplied by a certain weight. So here, the academic and research background, I have my educational background, which includes my degrees that I've earned, the transcripts, so the grades and everything, and then any extraneous honors and awards. For this, I scored around a 3.38, and I'm not that surprised because later on, as I'll show, the comments had mostly talked about my lack of good grades in undergrad, which, I mean, that eventually came back to bite me. But so that ended up losing a lot of points there. Here, the previous research background, including the thesis research, I guess I scored relatively high, so 4.5, and it was weighted a little bit more than the educational background. But my publications and presentations, since I actually published a number of first author articles over the last few years, was able to score pretty close to 5. So this is actually one of my highest scores here, and also the highest weight. So luckily, it made up the bulk of this category. Now for reference reports, I, as it turned out, got pretty glowing references from both my co-advisors and also my previous master's advisor. So ended up getting about 4.77. And then for my proposed research, which in this case made up the bulk of the scoring, as you could tell here, since of all these are higher weights, the clarity of objectives end about a 4.57, which is nice. The technical objectives and quality is about a 4.35. The feasibility, I actually ended up losing some points here because, as it turned out, I got docked for having such an ambitious project for 12 months. Think I planned out that project for about 2 years. So, if anything, that sort of backfired for me. For qualifications of the applicant, luckily, because of my background in 2D materials and liquid metals, I felt like I was quite poised to conduct this research, and luckily I was able to get a relatively high score for that. Now, the lab center review, which is basically when I contacted the person that was in charge of the project, he was actually able to help me craft some of my proposal, reorganize it in a way that might be more palatable for the reviewers, but he also recommended some of his own thoughts on the proposal and then me as a candidate. So I guess I got a pretty good recommendation on his end. And then overall, the assessment of the project, I guess they still thought it was relatively decent, so I ended up getting a 4.4 on this, which led to a composite score of about 89.75. So the 89.75, I didn't exactly know if that was a relatively high score or low score, so I ended up finding some information for panelists that I just did a quick Google search on, and this is sort of how the reviewers end up going through and scoring the different areas. So here is where I mentioned that the scoring from 1 to 5 is rated. So these are the following ratings here. So 1 being pretty poor, 5 being excellent or outstanding, generally within the top 10% of applicants. And when the composite score is revealed, then it's sort of put into different bins depending on what the score was. So if you scored at minimum a 60, that is what is allowable to be moved onto the facility for further review. So you have to score at least a 60 or above in order to get your application to move forward. The applications are split into plus minus grades. So here the 95 to 99 categories and A plus, and then it sort of goes down from here. So for me, since I had an 89.75, that sort of put me right in between this A minus and A category. This is sort of very hand wavy explanation for how scores are distributed, but essentially a large number of applicants actually score pretty high because I would imagine the quality of applicants is actually quite good. So I'm not that surprised that a lot of people would tend to score 90. But of course, this is a hypothetical, typical distribution for one of the review periods, and this is kind of the trend that you would see here. So very few people on this end of the curve, with most of the scores kind of hovering in the high 80s or 90s, with the really high scoring people generally above 92. So here, I guess the sponsoring agency would typically give awards automatically to those with the A range, and those with the B range will have to wait until slots open up. So the way it works is the agency has particular slots available. They would sort of use the score as a metric to see which candidates would then go sort of further ahead in the line in terms of getting an award. So if the higher you score, the higher chance that you will get an award. Okay, so let's go to the reviewer comments and see whether or not they've grilled me or said nice things about me. So here, I guess reviewer 3 left out their comments, but reviewers 1 and 2 definitely made comments on my coursework and my poor grades in undergrad. So here, like Mr. Kong clearly struggled. Thank you. During his undergraduate years, and less than perfect record. Also, thank you. During graduate level coursework. However, this difficulty has not seemed to prevent him from becoming a creative researcher and a valuable contributor when he finally got to the lab. And yeah, I like to think that's the case. So I think that this was a good opportunity for me to really show that I'm more than just a grade. and luckily this was also reflected in my letters of recommendation. In general, they mostly commented on my background and accomplishments, and then here is where they talked about my proposal. And in general, the proposal apparently got pretty good favorability, so they thought, at least reviewer 1 and 3 thought it was a really interesting project, could advance the field in a potentially useful way, but they also assumed that because of the amount of things I listed in my project, that this would be fairly ambitious, and they weren't sure if I was able to finish on time. Now, of course, the running joke in grad school is that when you get reviews back, that reviewer 2 is usually the most critical one, and very much so in this case. So he or she was explaining essentially what things that were not very clear with my work, and sort of questioning different decisions and approaches that I had, which in this case, I take it more as a constructive criticism, because then it sort of allows me to see the gap areas and sort of where I wasn't exactly clear, and also how I could potentially improve future proposals. All right, so right now I have the award decision, which right now is an acceptance. I have not selected whether or not I accept or decline, which I will do right now. So I guess this is it, and I accept this award. All right, so it looks like this is accepted, and I just got to do a few other laundry list items in order to move this process along. So I have to organize a proposed start date, which generally within the first 6 months, and then provide proof that I actually got my degree, and then do a bunch of other things as well. So this has been an incredible journey, and I haven't won any fellowships in grad school. I haven't won any awards, and barely won anything in undergrad. So I think just being able to be a part of this and having new opportunities open up, and for me to really not only develop my skills as a researcher, but potentially contribute something meaningful to my community and to, I guess, the Air Force community in this case, and essentially just being able to help and contribute to science. I am really grateful for just being able to have the people that support me and help me to become a better researcher and better person in general. And I hope that this change in my life will be a good change, so that I can grow, that I can learn more and network more, and just experience more in life. And hopefully, I look back in these next 12 and hopefully 24 months very fondly. Again, thanks for following my channel. And hopefully, if you guys are currently PhD students in STEM and you want to apply for a military lab or some other place within the NRC network, definitely go ahead and give this a shot, because you, one, won't get the actual award unless you actually apply. But depending on who you network with, you might actually have a very good chance of getting the award. And if you have any questions about the award itself, or just the process of contacting people and figuring out how to best approach different lab managers for different projects, please shoot me an email or just reach out to me on social media. Again, thanks for watching, and keep calm and exciton.